Where are we in terms of our efforts? Since we started in July 2019, DELIMa has experienced a steady growth in terms of logins. During MCO, we experienced an upward spike in logins. Of course, this is due to the need to use digital technologies to carry out teaching and learning. This is an achievement in itself. Thank you, teachers and pupils. For our future, digital learning will have to be part of school culture, embedded into our daily teaching and learning. This is because technologies are already being used in our daily lives. So how do we change? What can we do in DELIMa? DELIMa provides teachers the applications and services which are beneficial for teaching and learning to make their lives easier and more productive. Teachers can then create interesting learning activities, have more fun, and become more collaborative. Teachers are provided with webinars, courses, information, and resources on DELIMa. Also, teachers supported other teachers via WhatsApp and Telegram groups to help each other. Innovative teachers have begun to create YouTube videos, materials, and activities for learning, and they collaborated and shared their YouTube channels to encourage learning. This new trend of teachers being creators is amazing. So please, I encourage teachers to not stop, but to continue in their creative ways. We trust teachers will help sharing and collaborating on DELIMa through Ruang Ilmu and other applications and services they are comfortable with. DELIMa hopefully allows teachers to reimagine learning. To do so, this means teachers have to take on the challenge to relearn and start using different technologies for teaching and learning. Again, this means that teachers have to drive change with support from school leaders. It is vital for school leaders to play their role in supporting this change. Schools and teachers need inspiration and further learn about digital learning. DELIMa is a sharing and collaborative platform that provides communities and resources that give teachers a place for support and ideas for teaching and learning. It is no longer okay to use chalk and talk in the classroom. The current generation of pupils are already adept at using technology, and the DELIMa platform is a novel way of extending the learning culture. From previous experience, we can learn that cultural change is central to transformation, especially in Malaysia. I'm calling teachers to take up the challenge, engage, participate, collaborate, and don't be afraid to embrace this change. This way of learning will be the new norm. We need this cultural change in teaching and learning, as it is not only beneficial to our pupils, but also to teachers. DELIMa's design represents key concepts in digital learning. First, democratization of learning by giving teachers options and be able to support and collaborate. Second, focusing on digital learning for pupils, giving them future skills and competencies. And third, for teachers to develop a community where they can share their expertise and skills, as well as help to develop themselves and others. So by using just one ID, teachers and pupils can use all the services, which also includes content from providers like the National Library, MDEC, and UNICEF. External content providers can leverage on DELIMa to extend learning to new areas such as programming and STEM. DELIMa is MoE's digital learning platform, or MoEDL as it is known before this in Bahasa, Pelantar Pembelajaran Digital KPM. Most teachers and pupils know the platform as primarily Google Classroom, but now we want to move away from this and rebrand the platform as DELIMa, or Digital Educational Learning Initiative Malaysia. Before I conclude, let me say that this rebranding is to show three main things. One, the platform offers multiple applications and services. Two, to show that there are many partners involved in this platform. And three, to offer a single experience in teaching and learning online. DELIMa's endgame is to empower and prepare pupils for lifelong learning and future skills and competencies that they need to be employable in Malaysia and in the global market. I hope that everyone will join in and experience DELIMa for themselves. So it is with great pleasure that I launched DELIMa, or Digital Educational Learning Initiative Malaysia, as MoE's platform for digital learning. Thank you.
On behalf of the Ministry and BSTP, I would like to thank Dr. Habibah again for officiating the launch and also participating in this webinar. Now, I would like to introduce Ms. Azlina Kamal, Education Specialist from UNICEF Malaysia, who will be the moderator for this webinar session. So I'm going to get Azlina to introduce herself and continue on as moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shukri. Hi everyone, Assalamualaikum, good afternoon and welcome to the webinar. I'm Azlina Ahmad Kamal, Education Specialist from UNICEF Malaysia, and I'll be your moderator for the webinar today. The title of our session is Malaysia Towards Digital Learning in the New Normal. For months now, the great majority of the world's school children, some 1.6 billion at the peak of the crisis, have been out of school, leaving education systems, parents, teachers and children themselves grappling with the new realities of remote learning during the COVID-19 pandemic. Never has the gap been more glaring between children who have access to technology and learning tools and those who do not. And admittedly, more needs to be done still to address the equity dimension of this. However, despite the disparities, teachers and students worldwide, including in Malaysia, have had to adopt and adapt to new ways of learning. And we know an emergent way of learning is in the new normal is through the use of digital applications and services. Fortuitously in Malaysia, the MoE Digital Learning Platform, or DELIMa as it is now known, was already available for teachers and students. And this has given Malaysia an advantage over countries which may not necessarily have such a platform ready or available. There is indeed great potential and opportunities with DELIMa to transform the digital education landscape and challenge our thinking about education and learning, quality and equity in this new normal. We're very fortunate to have the Director General of Education with us. Thank you, Dr. Habibah. I would like to start off with a question for you, Dr. Habibah. What is the Ministry's vision of change for the education landscape in this new normal?
Okay. Thank you, Azlina. We would like to extend our appreciation to you for being both the moderator and panel member for this webinar. So back to your question, what is our vision for change in the context of education? So as we all know, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it brought about sudden disruption of schooling and has caused the ministry to re-evaluate the goals, especially in providing access to education so that the short and medium-term goals could be achieved. So we are still anchored on our Malaysia education blueprint and its 5-system aspiration so that we can provide equitable access to quality education. However, due to the pandemic situation, education, which has been almost equivalent to schooling, physical schooling, was not possible. So how do we review our Malaysia education blueprint in this context, particularly in meeting our short and medium-term goals? First, in terms of access, we want to ensure that all students have access to education and learning via multiple platforms at home. Quality, to ensure that teachers with the support of parents are able to maintain and deliver quality lessons via multiple platforms. Equity, ensuring that the delivery of educational content on various platforms would reach students who have different access to technology. Equity, ensuring that the delivery of educational content on various platforms would reach students who have different access, while unity, ensuring that online platforms would promote interactions among students of different races, while at the same time maximizing the use of these various platforms in delivering educational contents. Thus, in essence, in this context, our vision for change is about transformation, specifically looking at digital learning, which is all about the students and them being at the center of digital learning. It is our belief that pupils should be empowered to learn, and the teacher, technology, and content supports this learning. First, the centered student empowers students to learn, and it is our goal that they eventually become lifelong learners. But this is not new. We started with the Malaysia Education Blueprint since 2013, and it is currently in the second wave, which is from 2016 to this year, 2020, where the ministry is focusing on innovation. While we started with building foundation and capacity, we are now focusing on innovation, looking at developing students to learn critically and creatively. Part of this wave is also to provide for more engagement with special educational needs and, of course, parents and community involvement as well.
Habibah, for outlining that vision of change on greater student empowerment and inclusion. Allow me to proceed with a follow-up question for you, Dr. Habibah. Keeping in mind the COVID-19 pandemic and the introduction of the movement control order, with restrictions and risks alike, how has learning been impacted, and what does it now mean to learn in the new normal?
Okay, the normal ways of learning we are used to is no longer the only way to learn, and other ways need to be used to ensure that learning still continues. Our approach is to leverage on digital learning, that is using application and services like Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams for teachers to teach online and pupils to learn online. The ministry is blessed to have a ready-made platform in which teachers and pupils could use to do digital learning during the movement control order. Teachers and pupils could use a number of applications and services like Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, and others to ensure that learning continues during the movement control order. The idea of democratizing learning by providing options was key, as the ministry would not be dependent on one Options were also given to teachers to use other communicative technologies to talk to pupils and also parents like WhatsApp and Telegram. The ministry was keenly aware of the challenges and context teachers, pupils and parents were in. This will lead to hybrid learning and emergent assessment. Hybrid learning is basically the approach teachers took to teach during the pandemic. It is quite interesting to see that teachers use different technologies apart from Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams to teach. WhatsApp, Telegram, for example, are used by teachers to give activities, homework, and assessments to pupils. Some pupils could only be reached by using these communicative applications using the smartphone. Also, this means that the way teachers assess students also changes in interesting ways. Emergent assessment goes hand in hand with hybrid learning. Assessment now school-based and in MCO becomes more personalized to the pupils. And what appears is that teachers now assess pupils using communicative technologies that is readily available. This shows that teachers are adaptable and use technologies creatively during MCO.
Yes, it's fascinating how teachers have had to adapt to the different technologies and use of smartphones to teach. This whole diversification of the delivery of teaching and learning. The widening gap and potential loss of learning between those who have access to devices and connectivity and those who do not is also something I know MoE and partners are working actively and collectively to address, especially when we know that in 71 countries worldwide, less than half the population has access to the internet. On that note, I would now like to turn to the strategic partners. And I've got very strict instructions on this. You've got 6 minutes or less. What are your views on the vision that MoE Malaysia has set out on? And how do you see yourselves contributing to this vision? In no particular order, I will start with Mr. Mark Wu, who is the country head from Google Malaysia. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Azlina. YB, Dr. Habibah, Mr. K. Raman, and Dr. Helmi. It's an honor to be speaking alongside an esteemed panel today. As a Malaysian growing up within our education system, and as the country head of Google Malaysia, I am extremely proud and excited to be taking this digitization journey with the Ministry of Education. Our vision of change for education is a long-term and equitable learning for Malaysians of all walks of life. And we believe laying the digital foundation, enabling capability, and promoting future collaboration are essential to drive this change. And the catalyst for this change requires a strategic partnership, which Google and MoE have undertook for some time now. In fact, Malaysia is the first country in Asia to have a Google for Education program rolled out nationwide. At the core of DELIMa is Google Classroom, and it is a hybrid learning model used to empower teaching, learning, and collaboration among teachers and students. An example would be Cikgu Sufi from Lumut, Perak. He is one of the 1.7 million monthly active Google Classroom users who has replaced a lot of his administrative paperwork and freed up more time to focus on his students' learning outcome. Google has also invested in ensuring more teachers and school administrators are digitally ready. In partnership with various groups and communities, Google has conducted online webinars, which was especially effective during the MCO period. MoE and UNICEF developed a community guru digital learning site And lastly, through the Google Certified Education course, we are on track to certify 5,000 teachers by August this year. I personally see DELIMa as a start to a very exciting, digitally enhanced journey for our education system. With a digital-ready platform, or foundation as I call it, we can do much more for the students and teachers of Malaysia. An example is our work with MoE to introduce a computer science program to complement the existing coding and computational thinking subjects. This is a pilot that is underway in a few schools in Selangor. We are also teaching our kids about staying safe online. And last but not least, Google is working with UNICEF to ensure education is accessible to all Malaysians, regardless of whether they are based in the city or in the underserved areas. And with that, thank you very much again for having Google this afternoon. And we look forward to embarking on this journey of change for a better Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark, for that. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. K. Raman, who is the Managing Director from Microsoft Malaysia. Raman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Azlina. Selamat tengah hari and a very good afternoon to Dr. Habibah, Mr. Mark Wu, Dr. Helmi, and Dr. Shukri, and greetings too to members of the education community and everyone on this webinar. Before I proceed, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Ministry of Education for all the efforts taken to empower our nation's education system and equip the lives of our educators and students with the right platforms and tools to make learning more enriching experience. Being raised by the Malaysian education system, I'm a very proud anak Malaysia. Having gone through Sekolah Rendah, Sekolah Menengah, completing my STPM and graduating from University of Malaya, and now working for Microsoft, who is investing in the technological future of our nation, I'm personally very attached to the well-being of the Malaysia's education system. So at Microsoft, our goal is to empower the students of today to create the world of tomorrow. In education, this is more than just providing devices to play and learn with. We achieve this vision through the power of partnerships and collaboration. And it is the belief that we stand by, that we are better together. So how do we do this? Well, our objective is to democratize, integrate, and complement technologies in a secure manner by making our tools and platforms friendlier, even on non-Microsoft-based technologies. Our ambition is to create sustainable change in the ways we educate our students that will give them the tools they need to handle the world they live in and prepare them to take on the challenges of tomorrow. This is clearly articulated in the Microsoft Education Transformation Framework, which recognizes a multi-dimension approach. It is not just about technology alone, but also changing the mindset of a learner and the boundaries within which learning takes place, taking into considerations on areas like accessibility and equitability. The 5 drivers of change that needs to happen includes, number 1, incorporating technology into Malaysia's education framework so that we have a resilient education platform and solid foundation for remote learning and development of digital skills. Second is all about democratization of knowledge and access through broadening of access to non-Microsoft technological tools. Third is about embracing a digital classroom. This is more pertinent now with the COVID-19 era that we are in, and we are bringing the university to the device with the rise of online learning and hybrid learning model. Number 4, accreditation and integration with industry, with the scale and depth of industry-based content, certificates, and skill to create future-ready leaders, inevitably preparing students for the global arena. And last but not least, creating an inclusive environment to collapse the barriers for accessibility and inclusion, and create an equal playing field and access to quality education. At Microsoft, we are deeply committed to helping teachers, students, and education institutions succeed across a wide variety of areas and initiatives. As you can see, we have invested time and resources to benefit the future of education. Some of the areas we are focused on are in learning skills and development, education investments, philanthropy, and thought leadership in accordance to the Malaysia Education Blueprint. I believe that the integration of technology seen through the launch of DELIMa is groundbreaking, not only in terms of its scale, but also how it single-handedly touches on every aspiration laid out in the blueprint. To this end, we are glad to empower and enable remote learning to more than 5 million teachers and students through the Ministry of Education. Since the MCO, the importance of partnership grew alongside the rising need for remote access to education. With this in mind and leveraging on the points that Dr. Habibah has just mentioned with regards to digitalization, especially in the COVID-19 era, Microsoft has carried out several initiatives to support the educators community in Malaysia. These initiatives include webinars for educators on the digital classroom, e-class, an online study group platform, and Minecraft for education. The feedback we have received is overwhelming, and we are very pleased to have empowered teachers such as Cikgu Suhaila, Cikgu Dilmala, Ustaz Ashhadi, and Cikgu Fadzila, and many other educators during this MCO period. We are seeing significant results of digital learning adoption as the usage of Microsoft Teams has increased by 300%. My special appreciation and kudos goes out to the educator community for continuously striving to provide our students with the very best teachings and guidance to mold the leaders of tomorrow. So terima kasih cikgu-cikgu for all your hard work. Last but not least, I would like to emphasize on the importance of STEM and future-ready skills. We believe that STEM is the cornerstone of 21st century learning and critical in building a digital workforce that's ready for the world. The jobs of today will not be the jobs of tomorrow. Technology advancements happening all around us requires our school and even us, the workforce, to transform ourselves into skilled and talented learners that the future needs. I believe DELIMa's objectives is also in line with Malaysia's ambition to increase the quality of our students and provide them with the right digital skills that is relevant with the industry needs. We often hear that more than half of today's primary school students will perform jobs that have not been invented yet. We also know that 90% of all future jobs will require digital competencies, and we want to ensure that our students are ready to face the transformation journey that the nation has embarked on. Understanding this, Microsoft has been supporting the growth of the Malaysian education sector for the last 28 years, and we are committed towards promoting innovation and transformation in Malaysia's education vision. We know that teaching the future generation is a difficult task. Memang susah, we know. So before I pass the mic over, here are some resources to help our cikgus and our educators to learn how to adopt and use these tools in their classroom. So with that, thank you very much, Azlina, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Raman. Last but not least, representing Apple Malaysia, Dr. Helmi Noman from UKM. Dr. Helmi, over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Azlina, chairperson for today. Distinguished panelists, Dr. Habibah, Mr. Mark Wu, Mr. K. Raman, teachers and pupils here today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Helmi. I'm an Apple Distinguished Educator and a Deputy Director for the Center for Teaching and Curriculum Development, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia. I'm also a Senior Lecturer at the Faculty of Education, UKM, and also on the Board of Directors of the International Association for Blended Learning. First, I'm going to talk about vision for change. So this is my story. So this is me some 30 years ago. This is what happened. So I really hated history. So the teacher brought a TV to class and we watched the movie in class. So this changed my perception of history subject forever. So let's talk about teacher empowerment. And this is my students from the Faculty of Education UKM. They are teachers. They have limited background in creating digital content and music composition in teaching and learning. And this is what they created. So that was music composition created on GarageBand, but that was just not beautiful music, but it was beautiful music for teaching and learning. So this is another example of my class student at the faculty. She had no experience in creating digital content in teaching and learning, never used an iPad, never used an Apple Pencil, and look at what she did. So this is a powerful animation in Keynote that flips the way we deliver learning content. Student has problems in understanding about physics in the area of sound waves, and she used animation combined with sound effects and narration for impactful learning. And this was created on Keynote. So let's go to some examples on learner empowerment. Okay. So this is some impactful original content using the everyone can create code and everyone can create a curriculum, and one device was used, which was the iPad. So the Sekolah Alam Shah in the techno drama competition, they use green screen effects in iMovie, background effects in Keynote, and music composition in GarageBand. So let's have a look here at the students. They're using Swift programming to control the drone via iPad and using the Apple Everyone Can Code curriculum at Sekolah Sri Putri. So the key takeaway here is we want students and teachers who challenge the status quo, teachers and learners who think differently. So next, I'm going to talk about digital preparedness, and we would like to promote skilling, reskilling, and upskilling in teaching. You can find a lot of Apple resources on the DELIMa platform, and I've used them. And here we can see that there's the Apple Teacher Learning Center. Go and have a look there. There's a lot of resources, great resources, and you can get your certification on the Apple Teacher Certification, which is recognized by the Ministry of Education. And have a look at the Everyone Can Code curriculum, and Everyone Can Create curriculum there. There's a lot of great stuff there. And this is an example of the books, ebooks there, using doodle art. So this is an example of doodling and sketch notes. By using this, I created a visual notebook. So it's just not about drawing, coding. It's about bringing all these skills into something tangible and help students upskill themselves for the digital age. And the key takeaway is teach and learn differently. So for the final part of my presentation, talk about partnership and togetherness. So we would like to promote deep and organic communities. Here, look at the awesome stuff that the students created, teachers created, and sharing the Apple teacher community presence in Malaysia here. And here we have, these are the current partners and communities that I'm working with. So have a look at Apple teacher community, ATC iChampion.my, with 3,000 over students ahead, Apple Higher Ed, Mara Apple Teacher, and we have the Apple Learning Community Malaysia Facebook group. Do join us. And during this MCO, we have created 130 webinars with 380,000 teachers in Malaysia and worldwide. Great. So the key takeaway here is we want teachers and learners who think different make a difference today. So have a look and share your stories on Twitter at Apple Edu and hashtag it with Apple Edu Chat to get a peek at some of the great things other educators are doing around the world. Thank you very much. Back to you, Ms. Azlina.
Thank you, Dr. Helmi. It's been fascinating and illuminating to hear about MoE's strategic partnership and engagement with the three tech giants on the DELIMa platform. We've discussed somewhat comprehensively how the technology partners have been working with MoE during the MCO. Technology aside, could I please get you again, Dr. Habiba, to elaborate a little on MoE's partnerships and on MoE's other partnerships and also other approaches or modalities to learning, which you had alluded to earlier. Over to you, Dr. Habiba.
Right, Azlina, during the MCO, the main approach has been with the online learning and Google Classroom in particular. Our teachers have learned and capitalized on the video technologies and the integration with third-party apps to become one of the main ways of learning. As I mentioned, teachers also used other applications that are not naturally used in teaching and learning. In many ways, I would see that teachers utilize different technologies and apps to ensure learning still continues during MCO and post-MCO. One example is that teachers use WhatsApp to set work and give feedback. Teachers who use Google Classroom further capitalize on its ability to integrate. For example, a teacher can give activities using Google Classroom and then using YouTube to teach an ayat or sentence and then give feedback to her pupils through WhatsApp. She then gives feedback to the parents. In view of this, the ministry would like to encourage teachers to plan out and structure learning via learning packages or learning modules which ensure pupils and parents know what learning is to be carried out and eventually be assessed on. Better communication with parents, therefore, is essential as parents would ensure that pupils keep their focus on their students. Also, parents would be better prepared to help pupils of necessary and give space and time for learning to occur. The ministry is keenly aware that technology itself does not do anything. Content is required if we are to support and provide for digital learning. As I've mentioned before, we have partnered with a number of organizations to provide for teachers and pupils. Apart from Google, Microsoft, and Apple providing content, the National Library, MDEC, DG, and of course UNICEF has collaborated with us. The National Library provided digital books and other medias, MDEC curriculum resources for our Reka Bentuk technology, DG with cybersecurity content, and UNICEF providing content for community guru. These partnerships are essential elements for us to further enhance contents of DELIMa. We understand that engaging with partners is a way of providing other perspectives and resources for richer learning experience for our students and teachers, other ways of teaching which they might not know of before.
Thank you, Dr. Habiba. I think you've made a very important point that while we're looking at technology, that at the center of it all is the quality of learning and the content of learning. So thank you very much for that. Now, I'll invite myself, which is what happens when one is both the moderator and a panel member, to speak briefly on UNICEF's partnership with MoE on the digital learning platform DELIMa. On behalf of UNICEF Malaysia, I would first like to thank Dr. Habiba and the Ministry for our strategic partnership and the opportunity to collaborate on numerous initiatives to strengthen not just quality of learning, as you mentioned earlier, Dr. Habiba, but also equity and inclusion in education, especially for out-of-school children and underserved communities. Since time is of the essence, allow me to highlight 3 of our programs on the digital learning platform. You can access these via DELIMa, but those who are without direct access, we will make the links available on our UNICEF Malaysia Facebook page as well. Now, the first, a few of our partners have mentioned this, is our community Guru Digital Learning bersama KPM. And our implementing partner for this, I have to mention, is Arus Education. Now, the platform aims to strengthen teacher capacity for the delivery of online learning. We know that teachers are the unsung heroes of our education system. And interestingly, this initiative has been identified as one of the promising practices of education response for equitable learning during COVID-19. And this is out of 127 countries. So it's extremely impressive what Malaysia, the ministry, has achieved with this. There are 5 modules from building interactive online materials, online assessments, cultivating a positive learning environment. Teachers get a cert for this, and we have incorporated all the accessibility features and a specific module on the platform for accessibility for all, for teachers and children with disabilities. We're also now looking at extending this, acknowledging the multiplicity and the various mechanisms in which learning can occur. And this whole integration and democratization of learning via technology. We're also now exploring materials on Telegram, for example. How can teachers conduct lessons on Telegram? And looking at other providers like Microsoft, etc., on top of Google and our other partners. So that is ongoing. The second is our global citizenship learning materials for lower secondary. It's multidisciplinary, covering maths and science in both Malay and English, and history and geography in Malay. Now, these are project-based lessons focusing on growth mindset, and our aim is to help children, young people exercise agency and impact change around them. We even have COVID-19 theme projects. We've released a project on tracing COVID-19 or jejak COVID-19 for geography, and quality education for all for maths. Again, this is all accessible to everybody, mainstream, marginalized groups, and again incorporates accessibility features for underserved communities and children with disabilities. Last but not least, the third is future skills for all, looking at building 21st century skills for upper primary at the moment, but we're looking at extending it to secondary levels as we go on. And this is in partnership with MoE, MDEC, DG, and Arus Education. Again, for all children, mainstream, marginalized, with accessibility features. And in the spirit of diversifying learning, we have also shared some of the posts on TikTok under our Guru Future Skills. So yeah, children are on TikTok. We need to go to where the kids are and use whatever channels we can to encourage learning in this new world. So yes, collaborative efforts on strengthening not just quality, but also equity and inclusion, democratizing learning and diversifying a multitude of channels for learning. Okay, that's me done as panel member. So now Azlina, the moderator, comes back. Allow me now to summarize the key points from our webinar today. Given the depth and richness of the discussion, it'll be a tall order, so I seek your forbearance in advance. Now, to me, there are 3 main ideas that have emerged from our discussion today. Now, the first, on widening digital access. Now, DELIMa, the rebranded digital learning platform, represents, as we've heard from Dr. Habibah, a vision of change, a commitment by MoE, not only in terms of exploring new ways of learning, but also towards diversifying or maximizing multiple channels for the delivery of learning. Now with apps, services, content, and we've heard from all our strategic partners on this, all in one place, thereby simplifying the learning experience for teachers and students alike. The second, on strengthening quality and equity. Now, in this era of digital learning and 21st century skills and shocks to education, resulting in inequities, loss of learning, as we have witnessed with the MCO and COVID-19 pandemic, which we know will not be the last of such shocks. Now, what are some of the crucial things? Accelerating innovation, unleashing creativity, and how do we do this? Through forging partnerships, strategic partnerships. And we know, and it's clear today through our discussion, that DELIMa is one such example of this. And these are integral to building back better and stronger. And this is not only something that we do at a larger system level, but also in schools, in classrooms, in homes. And it should involve teachers, students, parents. The third and final idea is on renegotiating change. I think that has been the thread throughout. New realities will require re-examination of long-held beliefs, skills, and practices. The entire nature of teaching and learning, what it means to be a teacher or a learner, how will these be enacted in terms of needs, pedagogies, assessments, in terms of roles, rules, and terms of engagement in this new or evolving digital learning sphere. Now, every element we know will require some form of renegotiation, and it can be disconcerting, as change often is. But ultimately, it has also the potential to help us grow and improve and evolve, despite our initial reservations. And as we've heard today, MoE, strategic partners, UNICEF, we're all working to see how we can strengthen the building of system, teacher, learner capacity to better adapt to all these changes and this new normal. Ladies and gentlemen, all good things must come to an end. So it's been my honor and privilege to be your moderator today. Congratulations to MoE on this remarkable achievement on the launch of DELIMa and all the exciting possibilities that abound. Utmost appreciation to our panel members, Yang Bahagia Dr. Habibah, Director General of Education, Mark Wu, Google Malaysia, K. Raman, Microsoft Malaysia, Dr. Helmi Noman, representing Apple, and of course, to all of you, our wonderful audience, who have taken the time to join us today. I would like to leave you with a quote. The chaos of natural disaster requires the fortitude of steel and the flexibility of rubber. May we all find fortitude and flexibility in our different roles in this endeavor, be it on digital learning or surviving a pandemic. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay well. Bye.